talking again about Silicon Valley, I mean, one of the conversations you and I had it was a couple of days ago, I guess, in Anaheim, was, this phenomena where in Silicon Valley, you look around at pitch competitions and it's like always the usual suspects. It's like, teams from Harvard. It's like and they have their pipeline. The VCs have their pipeline. They have their networks. And you talk to folks who have raised, really significant dollars or been successful, and they'll tell you, well, there really isn't a cheat code to how you pitch. It's who you know. You have to like sort of get ushered into, this like secret club. And all the folks who basically are at the doors of that club are hanging out in Palo Alto and Menlo Park. And they're definitely not in Durham.
No.
So Camelback is basically, you're not like Series A, Series B. You're actually very often, are folks coming in with, is it organizations are you investing in organizations, or like where in the life cycle of like an idea for social impact are you coming in?
Yeah, good question. Thank you for asking, Alex. Really both, right? So we are identifying an entrepreneur who has a company, who has an idea. It could be for-profit, nonprofit, education, literally new schools. We invest in new schools, out of school time programs, workforce development, STEM programs, but also we invest in fintech, health tech, and ed tech. And so we give what is often called a friends and family round. So $40,000 in a grant if you're a nonprofit, and a founder-friendly safe if you're a for-profit, and early stage. So typically, because we're in our 10-year anniversary, and I started there 11 months ago as CEO. So our founder, Aaron Walker, started Camelback 10 years ago. He now has launched his own fund, Ruthless for Good, which he's raised $20 million that he's a venture fund that he is now deploying. And so we are early stage. Now we like to see an MVP often. Like you have it's not just back of the envelope. You have an idea, maybe you've tested it. And then we can help you get to that next stage. But we receive about 600 applications a year. We have 2 cycles through those, like 300 or so each cycle. And then we'll pick 15 a cycle. So still that's growth. Like literally this year, we've gone up to 30 entrepreneurs we'll pick this year out of 600. So still a small number. And so we also think about how can we be more influential in the ecosystem. In particular, we care about entrepreneurs who are solving problems in their own communities, and often they don't have the financial resources to do that. So we're gathering philanthropic dollars from large institutions that many people know that support our work, and then give that out through the grants or through a safe, and then also do a 4-month accelerator with them. But we recognize that we want to reach more than 30 people. So now we're really looking at how can we look at our content? How can we have gatherings like Guardian Summit that we have every year? We hope you'll come in New Orleans. And we're based out of New Orleans intentionally. So I grew up in Durham, in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and lived in Durham. Camelback is based out of New Orleans with intention. We wanted to bring eyes to the South, where we have more young people of color, where we have more diverse communities, and also ensuring that we're giving those dollars to communities that have been underfunded.
Yeah, I think it's so powerful that you're doing it in a place like New Orleans. I think the importance of bringing this conversation about innovation and putting it proximate to people so that they're not, because I think, I'm from Ohio, and we do a lot of work in Ohio, and folks are, they breathe a sigh of relief when, I will often open up a meeting and say, our goal is not to get your kids to move out to California. And that's kind of the narrative. When I was in school, it was like, if you're really successful, you'll go work at Google. You'll go to San Francisco, or you'll go to New York or Boston. And those areas have benefited from this massive influx of talent from all over the country. And that's one of the weird things is you talk to different folks in the VC space and the founders, a lot of University of Michigan alums, a lot of folks from the Midwest, but they've gone out. And so when is the event? It's in New Orleans.
Yes,
this year.
This year, New Orleans, June 11th and 12th, and it's a curated space. We hope to have 250 to 300 entrepreneurs, investors, philanthropy partners coming together and really talking about what's top of mind when it comes to investments, when it comes to AI, when it comes to technology and education. And I think it's timely right now, right? There's a lot going on. But we also know when we have a lot of change, I feel like that's when innovation happens. So we're really thinking as an organization, not just how we pull back, but how do we kind of lean in and ensure that we're supporting our entrepreneurs more right now, more now than ever. And so brain drain is what they talk about in terms of New Orleans, that we've got amazing people who have lots of talent and they often leave. So how can we have them stay within the New Orleans ecosystem? However, as an organization, we seed funding across the country. So we're looking at, it does not matter location where you're from. A lot of our investments are in the South because that's where a lot of people where they apply to for our program. But we invest across the country, including California.
What are some of the success stories? It doesn't have to be the current cohort, but just sort of like if you think back to the Camelback Ventures, like $40,000 is, for a founder, it could probably feels like a lot of money, but in the context of the venture capital space, it's, tiny. And yet, I think people are often surprised when they see what Camelback has been able to cultivate. But why don't you just talk through, we'll like sort of cut it up, but why don't you just talk through like some of your favorites?
Yeah. And I think I'll pull back a little bit too and say like my personal understanding of being a social entrepreneur. I was executive director, CEO, and along my journey in the last 5 years, I've become a social entrepreneur too. So it's helped me really understand the importance of having financial resources to start the thing you want to do, right? And like trying to cobble together your own friends and family around is not easy at all. And so we have, ventures from our first class started in 2015, and they have, become, Eubanks with Braven has become a $27 million nonprofit that's serving college students, the ones that may not be in the schools we're used to, like the top names, but really giving them access to career development as a career accelerator. We have Demola, who's out of Atlanta, who's building Plural as a new venture that's venture-backed, has been out to several rounds, focusing on how you use AI to help companies make decisions around policy by having that data. And then we have several from America on Tech to Knowledge House, both out of New York, that are focused on really STEM development, talent development, even for workforce. And so we've invested in 180 founders in our 10 years, and they have incredible ideas. And I'll tell you what I get most excited about is not just the venture they're building, but the confidence they have in being able to solve any problem. Literally in my first 6 months, I was still getting to know our founders and getting to know the landscape. And I just remember talking to a couple of our founders in DC, and they were just rattling off now how many companies they started or how many ventures they started, and just the positive energy of confidence and being able to solve whatever new problem they want to seek. And that's what I was so excited about for Camelback has done, because I want to see that in every type of community, right? That there isn't this, if you happen to have the financial resources and the social capital that's historical from your upbringing, which is fine, right? That you can solve problems. But even if you don't have that, if you're a little Black girl from Fayetteville, North Carolina, you walk into a room and you're like, I can solve that, right? And I think that Camelback does that for communities that typically don't have the access.